Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to our latest historic video. We're looking at the Julys and the summers of 1983 and 2006 for today's historic video. So I'll get on with that in a second. Just say what's happening at website. This video is going to be kept at Gazworthies on the homepage for the next few days, because I'm not going to be recording any videos. I'm having a few days away from the website from Monday to Friday, so you'll be able to watch this at the homepage at Gazworthies for the next 5 days. There's also going to be another video on the homepage explaining our winter methodology. We're coming up to the winter updates in a couple of weeks, and I always like to explain in advance what we're going to be looking at through the autumn in terms of the winter forecast methodology, winter updates. So you'll be able to see our methodology and see the things that we are going to be looking at through the course of this autumn as well on the homepage with the historic video for the next 5 days while I am having a bit of a break and giving my throat a rest. The winter updates are very draining on my vocal cords, on my throat, so I'd like to have a bit of a rest before I start off with the winter updates. So I'll go with the historic video in a moment. Before I get on with that though, just to say about the ads. There's links to articles on the page. You can have a browse widgets and click through the links if there's any articles that you're interested in. You'll be helping us to pay for our website, and thanks very much for doing that. There's video ads to most pages which own our content. When you watch them, they close back up again. It's all helping to pay for gavsweathervids.com. There's 2 websites that I have to say big thank you to with these historic videos. We've got the Historic Archive of Charts at webcent.de, and we've got the personal website of Trevor Harley, Professor Trevor Harley. I couldn't do these historic videos that we do at Gazworthies without these 2 websites. I'm really just a narrator who tells the story, but actually to bring it all together, to bring the story together, the information that you hear in the video, most of it comes from Trevor Harley's website, so big thank you, Trevor Harley, and that is coupled with the charts from webcent.de, and I think it's really bringing those 2 elements together that makes these historic videos what they are and makes it work. I'm really just a small cog in a much larger wheel, and kudos to those 2 websites, Harley and westcentral.de. Now, the historic video just recently been very long. The last one, I think, went on really 15 minutes, far too long, really, so I'm going to try and curtail this, make it a bit shorter for you. So I'm going to start with 1983, and then we'll go on 2006 in a second. I've got some pictures from some of 2006 as well to share with you, but nothing really from 1983. I did a Google search, you couldn't really find much in terms of pictures from the summer of 1983. I'm sure they're there somewhere. So we're going to start off in May 1983. This is how 1st of May looks. It's an unsettled month in May 1983. Very dull, cool and wet month. England and Wales had an average rainfall of 115 millimetres. Also thundery month. It had a central temperature of just 10.3. So pretty cool, actually. Low pressure dominates on the first day of May 1983, and this is indicative of what happens through the month. Very unsettled with low pressures moving in off the Atlantic. No sign whatsoever of what's around the corner through the course of the summer of 1983. Really no sign at all. We go up to the 18th of May. Big trough of low pressure parked over top of the country. That looks very unsettled, and that continues into the 20th of May as well. Now, it does turn a little bit warmer around the 24th, 25th. We build this slight ridge of high pressure in from the southwest, and that lifts temperatures up to 20 degrees, which is the latest date that's ever been reached, and I think that record still stands, actually. 20 degrees, 68 Fahrenheit on the 25th of May, 1983. But just goes to show you how poor a month this was. We go through to 30th of May, still very unsettled, low pressure is dominating. That takes us into June 1983, which also is a rather changeable month. It's a rather cloudy and cool month, quite dry down in the south, a little bit more unsettled up in the north. There was some thunderstorms through this month at times as well in June 1983. You can see what's happening, that high pressure is trying to start to ridge in from the Azores, trying to build up a bit of warmth from the south, but nothing really coming up up at this stage. Then we get the high pressure building across the country on the 6th of June 1983. That doesn't last all that long. It starts to slip southwards. Low pressure begins to head back in off the Atlantic on the 10th. This looks quite unsettled on the 14th of June 1983. So we go beyond that in towards the middle part of the month. And again, the Azores High tries to throw up a little bit of a ridge here on the 17th of June. And then that does form a bigger feature, actually, as we go through towards the 21st of June. A bit of a stronger build of high pressure there, and starting to slip to the north as well, beginning to pull the winds in from the east. So it does start to turn quite a bit warmer and drier at this point. And actually, as we go beyond this, we start to bring in some quite unstable air from the south. So as we go through to 23rd, we get some thunderstorms breaking out. And we get 103 millimetres of rain near Aylesford. I think that's how you pronounce it, Aylesford, in Hants. And then as we go through to the end of June 1983, it starts to turn more unsettled, actually. We start to pull down these cooler north-northwesterly winds, and these bring weather fronts down across the country, so we start to bring rain through the country. And some southern parts of the country actually have their first substantial rain down in the south for about 3 weeks here at the end of June 1983. So this is how we start July. The hot month of July has essentially a temperature of 19.5, but to that point, easily the hottest month ever recorded in the United Kingdom. So this is how we start this historic month, not on a particularly notable note, to be honest. A bit of a ridge of high pressure is building across the country with relatively cool air. But we go through to the 3rd, the Azores High begins to strengthen. Here we go, the Azores High is starting to move a ridge in from the southwest. The westerlies are being pushed out to the north, and as we go through to the 4th, this high continues to strengthen, and then as we move beyond that in towards the 5th, high pressure really is now starting to dominate the weather. It's beginning to pull up much hotter air from the south across the country. So we're starting to see temperatures lifting up in towards the upper 20s and the low 30s Celsius. Trevor said that a ridge of high pressure extended from the Azores as the month started. The temperature reached the magic 32 degrees 90 Fahrenheit somewhere in the country from the 12th through to the 16th. And the average daily maximum at Heathrow this month was 27.6. This is how it all starts off, with this big ridge of high pressure extending up from the Azores, dominating. Look how that high pressure intensifies as we go through to the 10th. That's a classic summer chart, a slow-moving, large, sluggish area of high pressure, hot ridge with low pressure down across the Azores, and we're drawing up very warm to hot southerly southeast winds. There's the upper air temperatures for the 10th of July 1983, with 10 to 15 Celsius HPA air across many parts of the country. It just gets hotter then. As we go through to the 12th, as Trevor says, we see temperatures at or above 32 degrees from the 12th through to the 16th. So quite a prolonged spell of hot weather that we have through the course of this month. The maximum temperature in this month is 33 degrees. So we don't get those sort of very extreme temperatures that we have in other summers. We don't go sort of 36, 37, 38, 39 degrees as we see, say, 2003 and again in 2006. We'll talk about that in a second. Don't get that extreme level of heat, just consistently hot. Temperatures around 32, 30 degrees over many days. So the 12th of July, the 13th of July, the 14th of July, this ridge of high pressure extending through the country. The 15th of July, on it goes with temperatures around 32 degrees or maybe a little bit above 32 degrees through the course of this month. As we go through to the 16th, it begins to turn a little bit more unstable, and we start to get some thunderstorms beginning to push up from the south as we get through in towards the 16th and then on into the 17th. You notice that pressure just beginning to leak a little bit, just beginning to turn a little bit more thundery with thunderstorms coming into the mix, but it's still very warm at this point. There's 17 consecutive days this month that have temperatures above 27 degrees 80 Fahrenheit somewhere in the country. Between the 3rd and the 19th of July, there's 22 days above 27 degrees. The 21 Celsius, 70 Fahrenheit is exceeded somewhere in the country every day but one day during the course of this month. When you think that May didn't get to 20 degrees until the 25th of May, just to show you what a hot and extreme month this was. As you go through to the 18th, just some slightly cooler air beginning to move down. That's starting to bring some thunderstorms down across the country. There was a lot of thunderstorms during the course of July 1983. And throughout this period, we're seeing temperature records tumbling. So, for example, Belfast breaks their temperature record on the 14th. And also Cardiff breaks their temperature record on the 13th of July. The Isle of Man breaks their temperature record on the 12th of July. And so we go on. And even in Scotland, we're breaking records around this period during the 12th through to the 16th. But we get through to the 18th, and things are starting to turn rather more unsettled. There's a lot of lightning here as the instability comes through. So from the 16th to the 17th of July, we have unfortunately some deaths from the lightning. 68 millimetres of rain falling in just 45 minutes in Cromer, with severe hailstorms in place, well, flooding through the Pennines. And as this cold front moves southwards, bringing these torrential thunderstorms, it is also starting to introduce some slightly cooler and fresher air, returning the temperatures just a little bit closer to average. Penzance was flooded on the 22nd of July. Here's your upper air temperatures just starting to show this slightly cooler air beginning to move down from the north as the heat begins to recede. So the 19th, you see cooler air is gradually starting to sit down as the hottest of the air is being pushed out of the way. And then we go through into the 20th, and it looks pretty much cool, pretty much cooler across the whole of the country. Although the Azores High is extending back in again on the 20th, and that sets up for another very warm push to go through the 22nd, and this is when we get those thunderstorms I was talking about down in Penzance. Dumfries and Galloway also has some storms leading to 70 millimetres of rain, with flooding up there on the 22nd and into the 23rd of July. With this area of low pressure, this is a very thundery area of low pressure we have here around the 24th into the 25th. Now we go through to the end of the month, it starts to turn very warm, if not hot again. So the Azores High begins to push back in. Look, here it comes, hot air. Isn't that far away on the continent. That starts to return towards us. As you go through 29th on to the 30th, we've got another heat wave beginning to take place. 32 degrees recorded at Skegness, 90 Fahrenheit again on the 29th of July. Now, right at the very end of the month, it begins to turn more unstable again. Thundery lows start to push back up from the south, leading to yet more thunderstorms. Widespread thunderstorms break out across the country, Trevor Sains, on the 31st of July 1983. Trevor points out that this month coincided exactly with the calendar, so it begins almost on the 1st, it ends almost on the 31st. However, it's not quite the end, because August also is a pretty warm month. Here we go with August. Got a thundery low to start us off, so a lot of thunderstorms around on the 1st of August 1983, but look at this, back comes the Azores High again, and as we go through into the early stages of the month, yes, we're generating another heat wave across the country. 32 degrees was reached later on at Yeovilton. That happened on the 19th of August 1983. This month has a central temperature of 17.3, not as hot, and not anywhere near as hot as July 1983, but nevertheless a really good summer month. So combining those 2 months, July and August 1983, you've got really quite a classic summer taking place. Now we go through towards the middle part of the month, and we start to weaken the high pressure just a bit to the north. Low pressure starting to come in off the Atlantic. Still the Azores High is close to the south, keeping the warm weather going there. Winds are back into the southeast on the 19th. As I say, we reach a 90 Fahrenheit again at Yeovilton on this day. But notice low pressure is forming around the Bay of Biscay. That looks thundery. Now that pushes storms across the country on the 21st. High pressure tries to come back in again to give us a dry and warm end to the month. Not as hot, but still the idea is that the Azores high is very ridgy. The jet stream is still a long way to the north of us. So broadly still in the same pattern of high pressure, but the summer is drawing to a close now and it's going to the start of September. This is the 1st of September. Notice the high pressure is slipping away into the east of Europe, low pressure becoming much more dominant out to the north and west, and then through the early part of September it turns significantly more unsettled. And that's the way that September 1983 pans out. It has average temperatures of 13.7 degrees, and there's frequent bouts of rain coming through as well during September 1983. As you tend to find with the hottest summers, very often the Septembers after those really hot summers are more unsettled and cooler months, but that isn't true for the next summer we're going to look at, which is 2006. I'm going to start in May 2006 again. This is a month of two halves. The first half is quite dry, despite this chart on the first, which looks unsettled. The first half of May 2006 is quite dry. The second half is much more unsettled. Similar in some ways to May 1983. So here we are on the 5th of May. Low pressure is becoming blocked out to west of us. High pressure is building across Scandinavia. That high pressure dominates on the 10th, a lot of dry weather through there. As we go through to the 15th of May 2006, low pressure coming back in off the Atlantic. It turns very unsettled in the second half. Lots of heavy rain coming through with areas of low pressure, bringing frequent bouts of rain through the country during the second half of May 2006. This has a central temperature of 12.3, and it's a particularly wet month across the west of Wales, and a drier month up in the far north of the country, presumably on the cool side of the jet stream up there. Now we go through to the very end of May 2006 and we're beginning to build a bit of a ridge out to the west. This is still quite cool, but high pressure is developing now out to the west. And as we go through into the start of June, we're going to see something similar to what we're just looking at, which is high pressure becoming increasingly influential across the country from the southwest. There we go. High pressure is starting to dominate during the early part of June, ridging through the country. And this is a very warm June with a central temperature of 15.9, similar to 2003, and one of the warmest Junes that we've recorded since 1976. Lots of high pressure during the first half of the month, more changeable during the second half of the month. A warm, dry start which peaks in a few days after this at 31 degrees 88 Fahrenheit at Weybridge in Weybourne in Norfolk. Notice again the high pressure extending in from the Azores through the country here on the 7th, and then to go through to the 10th, that high pressure starts to slip to the east. We begin to pull these really hot winds up from the southeast. So again, temperatures start to lift up here through the 10th, 11th, 12th, bringing hot air up from the south, seeing temperatures going up to around 31, 32 degrees across the country. Here's the upper air temperatures around this period again. 10 Celsius isotherm well across the country, 15 Celsius isotherm, which is hot air down in the south. As we go through to the 30th, we begin to cut off the hottest of that air, and then we're in a slightly cooler air mass on the 15th under this. Again, ridge from the Azores. You notice the main area of high pressure is around the Azores, but it's throwing up a ridge across the country. All of the hottest summers that we have tend to extend high pressure in from the Azores, build ridges through the country, and very often those summers will hook up with areas of high pressure that are over Scandinavia as well. Now, I said the second half of June 2006 did turn a little bit more unsettled, and that's what we see here. We start to bring in an area of low pressure on the 19th, and that intensifies through to the 21st. So this looks much more changeable cooler, wetter, windier on the 21st of June 2006. And we keep it generally quite changeable through the 24th. So it was a cooler second half. It just goes to show you how impressive the heat was in the first half to get a central temperature of 15.9, have one of the hottest Junes since 1976, albeit with a fairly unsettled and coolish second half. Just goes to show you how impressive the heat was during the first half of June 2006. We get through towards the latter stages, and the heat wave is beginning to set up again, getting us ready for that really, really hot July. So high pressures building through from the Atlantic in towards Scandinavia. There's the ridge, but I was just talking about low pressure is becoming stuck out to the north and the west. This is laying the groundwork for what happens in July. So this is the chart from the 1st of July 2006. This month has a central England temperature of 19.7, the hottest and sunniest month on record. It hasn't been beaten up to this point. It came very, very close. It's so frustrating. It came very, very close this month, having a central England temperature above 20 degrees. At the very end, it turns cooler, and that just stops us from getting a summer month above 20 degrees in the CET region. But nevertheless, at 19.7, it is the hottest and sunniest month on record for both England and in Scotland as well, particularly warm in the east and north. And in fact, July 1983 was hotter, surprisingly hotter on the south coast, and in the West Country. Scotland has its hottest month on record during this month. So we move through the early days. We have a heat wave here on the 1st into the 2nd, high pressure to the east, drawing in these hot east to southeasterly winds, temperatures widely lifting up in towards the 30, 31, 32 Celsius region, once again 90 Fahrenheit. Now low pressure begins to push up from the south here on the 3rd, and that starts to bring thunderstorms up from the south during the 4th of July. So we get 82 millimetres of rain falling in Gloucestershire around the 5th and the 6th, with severe flooding in Yorkshire as well from these violent thunderstorms pushing up from this thundery low. This is a chart for the 6th of July. Looks quite unstable, quite unsteady, and there's thunder within this, and there's also cooler air trying to push back in off the Atlantic. So this quite thundery stuff. It turns a little bit cooler on the 7th. But then as we go through into the 10th, a bit of a north-south split. It's a little bit more cooler and changeable than Scotland. But notice again, there's the ridge from the Azores extending through Spain, France, in towards many central and eastern parts of Europe as well. As we go through to the 12th, this cooler spell that we've had very quickly starts to return. So temperatures begin to lift up again here as we go through into the middle part of the month. This is the 15th of July 2006. Real heat wave conditions setting up. We're coming up to the hottest part of this summer. 1,030 millibar area of high pressure from the Azores extending through the UK in towards Europe as well. Temperatures widely going up above 32 degrees at this point, 90 Fahrenheit, and it just gets hotter after that. Upper air temperatures looking hot across the country. And then as we go through into the 16th on into the 17th, the heat wave is intensifying with this ridge again from the Azores through the UK stretched into into central parts of Europe. The 17th is a hot day, which sees 32.7 degrees at London Heathrow. That soon goes, though, because the 19th is even hotter. We go through the 18th, on into the 19th. There's the upper air temperatures for the 18th of July with 15 Celsius iceberg through the country. On into the 19th. High pressure all the way. Now it's centred a little bit to the east of us with these really hot southerly southeasterly winds being drawn up. So the 19th of July 2006 is an exceptionally hot day. It records 36.5 degrees Celsius at Wisley in Surrey, which beats the previous record of 1911, and also near Gatwick airport. We go up to 36.3, and Scotland reaches 30.5 degrees at Prestwick, and 34.2 degrees is recorded in Penhowd near Newport, which is a new Welsh record. 30 degrees is reached somewhere across the country on every day from the 16th through to the 27th of July, apart from the 23rd. Here's the upper air temperatures for this exceptionally hot day on the 19th of July 2006. The 20 Celsius isoterm is close to the south, just about makes it onto the south coast. The 15 Celsius isoterm is right way across the country. So unlike what happened in 1983, where it's just consistently hot with temperatures around 32, 33 degrees for many days, this also has temperatures around 32, 33 degrees for many days, but it also has a big temperature spike here on the 19th, with those temperatures going up to 34, 35, 36 degrees. 36 degrees is getting very close to 100 Fahrenheit. Starts to turn more unsettled on the 20th, and thunderstorms begin to break out, but we keep it generally warm through to the 22nd, all turning very slack, so there is thunderstorms here. I remember some really dramatic lightning and thunder after this big heat wave around this period of the 22nd, 23rd of July 2006. We move through to the 24th, and again another build of pressure from the south. These are classic summer charts. All the heat beginning to pile up from the south again on the 25th. But then we go through the 27th and things begin to change just a little bit. This area of low pressure starts to form in the northern Atlantic, and very gradually, it takes a long time, but very slowly it starts to break down this all-powerful ridge of high pressure we have from the Azores, and slowly, this low pressure moves closer towards on a day-by-day basis. So by the time we get through to the 31st of July 2006, the last day of the month, we are in a significantly cooler and fresher westerly flow. And it really is those final 2 or 3 days that stopped us from having summer month above or at or above 20 degrees Celsius in the CET region. If it hadn't been for those 2 or 3 days, say if we started heat wave a couple of days later and extended it out to the end of the month, I think the 20 degree record would have gone in the CET region. But just these last 2 or 3 days pulled those temperatures back from the brink. Even so, still the hottest month on record. And then we move through in towards the upper air temperatures. Finally, just show you that it was significantly cooler on the final day of July 2006, and that's the confirmation of why we avoided that 20 degrees Celsius summer month. So then we go through to August 2006, and this is a very different month. It has average temperatures, but what a contrast to June and July. Very northwesterly, and it just has a central temperature of 16.1. Nothing to write home about, over 3 degrees, getting on for 3.5 degrees cooler than the month before it. Low pressure is dominating. A bit of a ridge tries to extend from the Azores, but it doesn't really come off. And as we go through towards the 12th, you see we're in a northerly flow, and that's indicative of the month as a whole. It's unsettled, there's low pressure never far away, we've got northerly winds coming around that area of low pressure, and it just carries on in a similar vein through the month. Cloudier and slightly wetter than average, the dullest since 1986. Not a disaster of a summer month, but compared to that July, just really quite a letdown. I was on the forums at that point, at that time, and it really was a letdown of a month this August after that incredible July and hot June that preceded it. This is how we aimed August 2006. Again, with an unsettled flow. The high pressure to the south is trying to build, but low pressure is still the dominating factor coming in from off the Atlantic. The highest temperature, by the way, through this month is at Church Lawford at 28.9 degrees, and that occurs early on in the 6th. But it's not a month that's easily remembered. It's not much to write home about. It's the first time, can you believe it, after all that heat that we had in June, July, it's the first time that we don't achieve achieved 30 degrees Celsius in August since 1993. So it's been 13 years since we've had an August, well, as cool as this in some ways, and it follows from that incredibly hot July. However, there's one final twist to the plot, which is September 2006 has a central England temperature of 16.8. I'll say that again. It has a central England temperature of 16.8. It is warmer than the August that preceded it. And that is very unusual because this is a cooling time of year. So it really is very, very unusual to get September warmer, hotter than August. But we did it in this month. Now, it's a bit complicated. There are two CET series. There's UK Met Office series, and that has the central England temperature for September 2006 at 16.8, which is easily the warmest on record. There's also the Philip Eden Central England temperature, which is more aligned, I think, to Gordon Manley. That has the CET coming out at 16.6. And it's tied as the equal warmest September on record with September 1729. So whether it was the warmest warmest September on record, or whether it's tied with the warmest September on record, it's difficult to say, but it was an incredibly warm month. I remember this very, very well. It was freakishly hot. I've never experienced anything like it. High pressure from the Azores, always close to the south, trying to get into that position that we had in July. Here we go on the 10th of September 2006 with high pressure to the east, drawing up very warm southerly winds. And as we go into the 12th, again, we remain very warm with southerly winds coming up across the country. It reaches 28 degrees, 83 Fahrenheit at Margate on the 6th. 30 degrees is achieved at Heathrow on the 11th, so into the mid-80s Fahrenheit here in September. And there is thunderstorms being triggered by the instability, but it's the heat that's the real story. There's the upper air temperatures for the 12th of September 2006. Look how warm it is. That won't be out of place in the middle of summer, never mind in September, with temperatures above 15 Celsius at 850 HPA in the southeast. Low pressure tries to come in from the west, turns it very wet on the 14th. That produces lots of violent thunderstorms and small tornadoes across the north of the UK. Heat isn't quite done yet, though, because on the 21st, this is the remains of a hurricane. I think it was perhaps Hurricane Gordon, and that pulls the winds up from the south again, so we see temperatures lifting up once more. 29 degrees is recorded at Sutton, Bonington in the East Midlands on this day. The latest that temperature has been achieved since 1985. And then we go through to the end of the month, and very gradually that blocking high is broken down little bit, and by the very end of September 2006 we're back in a cooler sort of west-southwesterly flow. Although the autumn of 2006, and I could carry on with this, but I'm going to wind it up here, but the autumn of 2006 was the warmest on record. A lot of that was down to September, of course, with such freakishly hot temperatures. But October and November 2006 were also very warm as well in their own right in comparison to the time of the year. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it brought back some memories of those two really hot months in July 1983 and in July 2006. I'll just leave you with a few pictures. Here's a couple of ladies on the seafront. I'm not sure where they are, but they're enjoying the sun, enjoying a little doze, I think, there. In the summer of 2006. This is in Cumbria. This is from July 2006 with a reservoir running dry. So despite that there were some violent thunderstorms around in July 2006, it wasn't thundery everywhere, and well, you can see how low the resi went there in Cumbria. Not sure where this is. This might be Hyde Park, and again we see people cooling off in a fountain, and then this is Trafalgar Square in the summer of 2006. Again, people taking a dip to try and cool off in those very, very hot temperatures that we had during that summer. Right, that's it for now. How long have we been going on for? 34 minutes. A little bit better than some of the historic videos I've been doing lately. It's a little bit more than I was intending. But I hope you enjoyed the historic video for the summers of 1983 and 2006. As I say, it's going to be kept on the homepage for the rest of the week up to Friday. Then it will be placed within the historic archive at Gazweb, so you'll be able to watch this whenever you would like to. Don't forget to check out the winter methodology videos, just so that you can familiarise yourself with all the things we're going to be looking at from the start of September in terms of the winter updates. I'm having a few days away. I'm on the coast somewhere. Well, all that remains is to say thanks for watching. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.